I overcorrected, and in a metal bowl was like 1.5 pounds of placenta, and I was just like...
Welcome to the Dad Club. We are joined today, I say we, you at home. It's a family thing. I mean, it's so far, this whole interview is going great. Joined in the Dad Club today by comedian, stand-up, new dad, podcast host, Mike Cannon.
Oh, man. Thanks so much for having me.
They're
we
clapping at
appreciate
home.
it.
Yeah, we. Yeah. Well, it's the royal we. That's how we speak it.
Buddy, if I'm on a show, I want there to be a meltdown 3 seconds in, so I'm grateful.
Usually, I'm the color man. Usually there's a straight man that comes in and like sets things like, this is how we do it, this is how we do intro, and and I just pop in with like a jibba jabba, you know.
Yeah. I hate running the show. I hate steering the ship.
It's boring.
I'm the sniper. Come in with a joke, be the funny goof.
And then sit back and Google stuff maybe sometimes.
Having to be an actual dad of your own dad interview show, that's tough stuff.
It's garbage. Anyway, we want to have Mike in because he's hilarious, friend of the show, but also he is a new dad. You are the dad of a 6-month-old?
He's going to be 6 months this Friday.
It's very exciting. You have a party planned?
I do not, but I am releasing my special on that date. So
wow. You're not going to let me do it?
Yeah, no.
It was like number 20 on my list of things to do. That's right. Mike's a stand-up comedian, and he is releasing his first special. It's out now. By the time you see this, it's out now.
Go
to YouTube, youtube.com/
Mike Cannon Comedy.
There it is. It's hilarious. Really funny guy. A lot of life talk, a lot of new life, a lot of old life.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I had an hour ready to go.
Yeah.
And then my wife told me she was pregnant, and I had to toss about 30 minutes of, I'm never having a kid. I'm not ready.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Were you like, you were in... Listen, this is not for me. Dad life isn't for me.
I just didn't think I had it in me to be mature enough or organized enough or like, serious enough for it. So I always thought that I wanted kids like my whole life. But I just like being a comic, it's tough to see both things as a possibility.
Yeah.
You
mentioned before you had a CSection story.
Oh, yeah.
That
dude.
We were going to talk about.
So, I mean, we had a doula who was really great, and we had a few, pre-birth meetings with her. I mean, my whole freak out, because the only information I really had on this was movies. Like, I mean, before my kid got here, we watched like Father of the Bride 2, Knocked Up, like, every movie to prepare us for exactly what childbirth is.
Always rushing in the taxi.
Yeah. And that was my fear the whole time, is like, with the doula, she got so annoyed, I assume, with me, because I was just like, when do we go to the hospital? Mm-hmm. She's like, relax. Like, yeah, okay, we're going to get to that point. And I'm like, no, I just need to know that because that's pretty much all I do. Right? It's like I have to ensure that she gets there and doesn't give birth in the back of an Uber.
I'm the bad guy,
Yeah, even though I would love the viral content of giving birth in the back of an Uber, it's not my goal. So we had the doula. She was amazing the entire time, really gave us a ton of information, walked us through the whole process. We had a fake out, labor.
Day before, a couple days before?
2 days before.
Yeah.
Because we actually had a scheduled induction because my son was so big that they were like, all right, we can't.
Nice job. Congrats.
Hell yeah. Purely dick. Not body.
Mostly dick.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Takes after his mother. But so we, fake out thing, whatever. Then we kind of came back on the induction date. We labored. I was a very active part of that painful process. And she labored for like 24, 25 hours until they realized that, she wasn't effacing enough. She wasn't dilated enough. My son was also sunny side up, which means his face was out towards the world. And it's more beneficial, I guess, if they're facing the spine and they kind of, it's an easier trip out. Yeah. So we had to do a C-section, which initially, I don't know about you, I was hoping for. Kind of like, I was like, a C-section is safe to me. Where I was like, okay, the doctors have full control over this stuff. I've watched Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, where somebody passes away on the table from giving a natural birth. All these things are just swimming in my mind. I'm not smart. Let's just get that.
It's a few years later since Dr. Quinn.
But I'm not a smart man, and I believe every media that I consume. So all these things are swimming around in my head, and I'm like, all right, perfect. Doctor's hands, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have to give like the anesthesia on top of what is that called again? The Epidural. That's right. Epidural. So it was on top of that. They were telling us, they're like, listen, like, you know, some women have a reaction to the anesthesia. They, you know, chatter or shiver a little bit. It's totally normal. Nothing to worry about. And, you know, I took a selfie of myself in the full garb right before because I just wanted to, I really wanted to, you know, lock down that moment. And now when I look at that picture, I'm like, I am the most frightened I've ever been. Like, very clearly frightened.
Your brain knows, like, I have to do this. Like, I have to make content. I have to take a picture. But your heart's just like, oh my God, we're all gonna die.
Dude, so frightened. Understanding that it's Ferret. Like, once he's here. Yeah. Which is a scary thing because initially you get to the hospital and you're like, all right, we'll give birth, we'll get out of here, and then we'll have some beers or whatever. It's like you forget that this is now a lifelong thing.
Everything's different. Yeah.
So my wife, you know, I get into the room and there's like 7 or 8 doctors. I didn't realize there was that many people. There's obviously the big sheet that covers the zone. Yeah. And I walked back there and I'm talking to my wife and she didn't have like the little chatter. She was full convulsing. Yeah. On the table, like, and I mean just like blue lips, hardcore convulsing. And I'm just looking at the doctors being like, this is cool, and they're like, it's totally fine, it's totally normal. But I know my wife is scared, obviously, and she doesn't see herself, but I assume she can kind of feel the tremors she's experiencing, and I have to then look at her and put on a performance that everything is good, and that I'm not scared, and that she doesn't look like the woman crab crawling upside down from The Exorcist. So you know, I'm panicking because she's like convulsing so much. And, you know, it's all this pressure she's feeling. They're pulling her out of her. Yeah. And then they pull the kid out and then they pull down the curtain. They're like, look at your son. And he's like Simba, almost like, I don't know who the lighting guy of Mount Sinai West is, but he's fantastic.
Hey, because it was Mount Sinai West.
That's where I was born.
All right.
That's where I was born when it was called St. Luke's Roosevelt.
Nice.
Yeah, so me and my son have the same hosp. But yeah, he's like in the thing, he's covered in goo. He looked exactly like my wife, which infuriated me. And then they pulled back up the curtain. They're like, okay, like, can you can go see your son now? And I'm like, is she all right? Like, I've known her longer. I want to make sure that she's going to stay here. They're like, there's nothing you can do to help us. We're good. Like, she's okay. Yeah. And then they have that blue line of tape for you, the path?
So you can get there. Yeah. So you don't go stray.
And they said, they were like, just do yourself a favor. Do not look beyond this side of the tape. They're like, just don't. Like, you can, but just don't. Mm-hmm. It's going to really mess you up.
Did you?
I didn't. I overcorrected, and in a metal bowl was like 1.5 pounds of placenta, and I was just like, like just instantly just, okay, that was too much. And I walked the path, and you see your son, you know, you see your baby, and I don't even know what I was saying or doing. It's such an out-of-body experience that you think you're going to be emotional, or you're going to be happy, or you're going to, you know, all these things. I don't know. I don't know what I was feeling. I was like, oh, like just you know, and I remember being grossed out by his nails. Like, you know, he's just a brand new human, so nobody has given him a mani yet. And I'm just like, whoa, dude, like, yeah, you're here. I can't believe this. I wasn't crying, and I wasn't, but I was just like, what's happening, right? It was just so, it was so bizarre. That, like, you know, then they pick him up, they bring him to my wife, and we're just sitting there. I mean, I've known my wife since we were 10 years old. Yeah. Like, we were neighbors growing up. We dated in middle school, in elementary school even, you know, for as much as people can date in elementary school. We hugged on the blacktop.
You had each other's phone number.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. I remember her in her Charlotte Hornets pullover starter jacket. Nice. And I was like, I'm going to impreg this 5th grader one day.
Sure. Well, you can't. I don't think you can say that even now.
I was also in 5th grade. So.
Well, I think still, it's weird.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So...
We'll cut that out. We'll check the legal.
Please.
Anyway,
so I just, like, it was one of those things where every memory, it felt like dying a little bit, or what I assume dying feels like. I have smoked DMT, so I kind of know. But I'm just like running through all these memories are just flooding my brain of, like, you know, growing up together, playing basketball together in middle school, high school, you know, college, all this stuff, and I'm like. And now we have a baby. Like, this is weird, man. It doesn't even feel like a real life story. It feels like something that somebody wrote for me and I'm having a fever dream about.
Yeah.
But then by the time she, like, they didn't have any rooms available, so they brought her to wherever that that other place where they were, like, you know, making sure she was dressed and healed okay. And the doula was so great. She made the baby latch immediately. So that was, like, part of it. Yeah. So I was then the usher of people coming up to meet the baby for the first time at night, you know, meeting my wife and blah, 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 just seeing and everybody getting the hell out. And then we didn't have a room. And we definitely didn't have a private room, even though we put in for the lottery.
Yeah.
This is the most Italian story of all time too, right? So we didn't get the private room. I had to go home. I slept home. I left every part of my luggage in the Uber. Every piece in the back seat, in the trunk of the Uber. I had to call the guy like 2 days later when I finally realized. And he's like, "You're the guy with the baby, right? Of course, I'll bring it right over. That's no nice. Big deal." He's the greatest guy ever. He was talking to me about his 18-month-old son. Like, really cool guy. I truly lucked out. But then the next day when I got back, you know, her whole Italian family is there. And of course they knew like the head of nursing and, the roommate was actually leaving that day. And they're like, "Don't worry, we're going to make sure nobody takes that bed." So I actually got to stay in the room with my child and my wife and paid not $900 a night.
Obviously the moms have it tougher, but it's crazy for dads.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Of course they have it tougher. It's a total different experience for the two of you. I do think it's a weird position to be put in to be that useless.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And to be that helpless in terms of you know, in that moment, I'm sure if I was given time to think, I would not want to take her position. But in that moment, I'm like, I'll do anything to like put this on me and have you not
of course
go through this. Yeah. But you're just there and you're basically a gopher to try to get ice chips or whatever, like, you know, anything that they need. But you feel like anything you do is not enough because what they're going through is so truly wild.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about you, but my mindset after watching it, I was like, this is weird that people have been doing this since people, right? You know, and at some point, other men watched their wife or woman go through this and were like, "Wow, that was incredible. We'll take society from here." like we're gonna decide that men are now in charge. Like, and I know that's a real beta cuck thing to say, but it is truly a perspective shattering thing to just watch the creation of your species and then be like, "Well, how did I get in a power position?"
Yeah. No. It's insane.
Yeah.
I know there are other dads out there. If you had like if you have a crazy birthing story, C-section story, like put it in the comments. Definitely want to hear what your experience was like. Mike Cannon, thanks for being on.
Dude, thank you so much.
The Dad Club.
You're a treat.
Out now is Mike Cannon's Life Begins.
Yeah.
YouTube, check it out.
Mike Cannon Comedy on YouTube.
Or his podcast,
Irish Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Gang, gang.